Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to this video for Fork This Life, written by Jinxes 2011. This video contains chapter 33, and as always I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider subscribing. Chapter 33, Fork enrolls in magic school. Rhea looks at the satire woman who appears to be struggling with a mix of emotions. Would you like to come inside? No, she shouts reflexively, before calming down and explaining herself. No, I'm sorry. Even if the Lord has said it's alright seeing something made, she gulps, made of wood. I just can't. It's alright, Rhea says reassuringly, stepping away from the house. Should we talk here, or would you rather it be out of sight? Yes, that would be great. Can you climb? She asks. Drea smiles, flagging his tail. I am a squirrel. The two of them walk over to a nearby tree, and within seconds both of them have climbed up into the leafy canopy. Sitting in the thick boughs, they look remarkably unperturbed, and their legs are hanging over empty space. I stealthily leave the house and float over to the tree, setting myself to rest amongst its roots, just in case. As at this distance, Drea is inside the range of which my telepathy wouldn't make more sigh than I regenerate. Letting out a deep sigh, the satire woman instantly looks more relaxed. Sorry, I was just all so fast. I was just wandering around the forest like every other day, and then I found your house. Then the Lord himself came. I can give you some time if you'd like, Drea suggests. No, I'll be all right. She takes a deep breath. The Lord asked me to teach you the way of the forest, and he's right. If nobody does, you could end up dead or lost forever within the forest. Drea frowns. That doesn't sound good. Let's get started then. A moment later, he asks me. You're listening, right? Always, I replied. The trees are alive, as smart as you or me. Talking in a language that we can't hear or understand. The entire forest talking to each other. She gestures wildly. Many of them like to move around, which means that they are absolutely impossible to find your way around if you rely on your memory. Drea cocks his head. How do you find your way around then, he asks. You ask the forest, she replies. The trees know where everything is. They'll open up a path for you, or, if you're particularly lucky, they might be willing to take you there. Seems straightforward enough, Drea nods. But why are they so helpful? It's her turn to look confused. Now that you mention it, I'm not sure. There's just an old legend that we satyrs are the keepers and protectors of the forest. Perhaps that has something to do with it. Protectors? What are you protecting the forest from? Drea asks. She grows even more confused. I don't know. There shouldn't be anything that's a danger to the forest. Maybe you protect the forest from people from other worlds. Not all of them are as friendly as me, Drea muses. Maybe, she nods thoughtfully. Anyway, the same if you need food, ask and you'll be guided to a tree nearby that has ripe fruit or nuts, or a place where you move some vegetables and have finished growing. Sounds like most of your needs are taken care of, Drea notes. Most, but not all, she warns. It isn't just the satyrs who dwell in the forest. There are many animals and beasts here as well, and not all of them are friendly. The forest will try and keep you clear of them, but if you have your scent, there's rarely anything a forest can do to help. I hope that you know how to fight. Her clothing, clearly made from furs and animal hides, punctuated just how real the danger is. No worries there, Drea shrugs. I travel a lot, and I've gotten into my fair share of trouble in the past. I can take care of myself just fine. Is there anything else I should know? Don't harm the forest, or other than that, no. Maybe, she says thoughtfully. There are some old ways passed down in the stories. We don't know what they mean exactly, but they might mean something to you since you're from another world. Maybe, agrees Drea. What are they? Carry no axes and start no fire, she recites. Drea nods. Makes sense. An axe is a weapon or a tool mostly used to cut down trees. She shudders. And fire is, well, fire. It's hard to describe. Do you know how to describe fire? Drea asks me. I could give you the technical description, but I doubt that it will clarify anything. I reply dryly, describing fire to someone who's never seen it before. Well, that would be like trying to describe color to a blind man. Hey, that's a great way of putting it, Drea exclaims. Was it? Describing fire to someone who's never seen it is like trying to describe color to a blind man, Drea repeats, but fire is, really bad for trees. All right, she scratches her head slightly. Well, that's enough talking. I should show you how to do it. You hungry? Definitely, Drea nods. Follow me, she says, quickly climbing down the tree again, with Drea close behind. Hello, can you please lead us to some food? She says to some trees before telling Drea. You have to be polite. The forest remembers everything, so if you're rude, they'll be paying it for a long time. I still get macadamias every now and again. That's a tough nut to crack, Drea nods. I follow behind them at a distance as they walk through the trees. Around them, and even me, the trees shift and move slightly, opening a path for them to walk on. My name is Drea, by the way. I forgot to properly introduce myself before. Drea rubs his head wryly. So did I. She shakes her head. My name is Ch.33. Nice to meet you. Almonds rain down on them from above. Ch.33 turns to the trees and thanks them before starting to gather the nuts. So, what now? I ask. Ch.33 has finished teaching Drea everything that he needs to know to live in the area, and has left him the rest in the boughs of one of the trees nearby. Drea crunches through a mouthful of almonds. This world seems safe enough, a bit unusual, but that's not a bad thing. I'll need to charge the formation back up in case of emergencies, first of all. And after that, I'd like to stay here for a while, learn more about this world, Drea muses. But now that I've been here once, I can get back if I need to. We can keep jumping around to find your home world, if it's urgent. Is it urgent, he asks. I think about it for a moment before answering. The only people I know in that world should be safe as far as I know, and I don't particularly have anything I need to do there, so... No, it's not? Then I can fire up the portal, we'll see if we can get your scholarship, and I'll be able to visit with my friends in the academy, Drea says. Sounds good, I reply. Will it take long to gather the mana for the portal? Not too long, a couple days at most, Drea reassures me. It's much smaller than what I need to do to transport my house after all. Great, but we still have to wait until you fill up the formation of the house, I ask. Yeah, he agrees. All in all, this is a terrible place to be. A fair sight better than hell, that's for certain. It's quiet. Quite ironic for me to say, but it is. There aren't any sinister plots threatening to destroy the country. No evil personage out for our lives. Just a few wolves and a bear so far. Hidden amongst the trees, there might be a million small animals and insects, but it's all fairly peaceful. Perhaps a tad boring, but boring is good, every now and again. Besides, I really wanted to. I could probably pass plenty of time just watching the wildlife scurry about. Ch.33 is still hanging around, keeping the order to her invisible lord. Lucky, too. Another satyr came by and practically attacked us on sight before she stopped him. Drea seems keen to learn as much as he can about this world and the people in it, and often has conversations with the Ch.33, but doesn't always get the answers he wants. He's not been able to find out the name of this world, or what there is outside the forest. She doesn't even seem to understand the concept of there being something outside of the forest at all. But regardless, the days pass by. Perhaps because of the absence of brutality and death in my surroundings, I feel more relaxed than I can remember being in a long time. For once, I don't have responsibilities and expectations weighing me down. I'm completely capable of taking care of myself, and I don't have to worry about things such as food, shelter, or even building a family. Being biologically incapable of reproduction, as no longer having the hormones which cause men to become attracted to women, are such convenient excuses for not getting a girlfriend. And all of this lets me do what I really want to do. Well, first I'll have to learn a bit of magic to be able to interact with the world through mediums other than absorb, telepathy, or telekinesis. But after that, I'll be able to pursue whatever magic interests me. Admittedly, that all hinges on me being admitted and gaining a scholarship, so during these days I focus on a few magical skills, magic missile and mana control, whether forcefully compressing mana into a dense point, controlling the individual movements and multiple separate bits of mana, or forming the mana into various shapes. I do it all day, every day. Most of the time this doesn't actually require large quantities of mana at once. Smaller amounts are often just as difficult to control, so I am able to do this literally 24/7. By the end of the first month, I am able to make approximately 1 to 100 almost exact scale model of Drea in mana, and control 3 separate magic missiles in individual fight paths. By the second, my Drea model looks exactly the same, to me, as the real thing, and I can even mimic his movements with a fair degree of realism. Keeping track of multiple magic missiles at once is harder than it sounds, and I'm still only able to manage 4. But those 4, I can make each pair rotate in opposite directions, have them fly in formations and do different directions. By the end of the third, I've also made a scale model of Ch.33, and 2 models to mimic their real-life counterparts' actions exactly, under my control of course. I can control 5 magic missiles now, or create a single one compressed to an extent that, well, I imagine it can do some damage, but my only viable target here is dirt, since doing it against the trees would be us booted off this world faster than you could say oops. There was a few days left to wait. Drea soon fills up the last mana crystals, and then, before I know it, the day comes. Fetching the chest from beneath his bed, Drea opens it and retrieves a fine robe. Closing the chest and pushing it back under his bed, Drea dons the robe, explaining, "My fur covers everything up, so there's usually no problem, but the academy has a dress code. Can be annoying, but it is necessary." I look at the robe, then at myself. I won't have to wear that, will I? You shouldn't have to. I don't think that you could wear anything, even if they wanted you to. Drea's tail flags in amusement. Good, I sigh. All right, let's get going. Drea says, almost forgot. He quickly dashes outside and informs Ch.33 about what is happening. I don't think she understands much of it, but she at least is going to get the general idea. Coming back in, Drea locks the door behind him and walks up to the portal frame. He channels his mana into the frame carefully, activating it. After a few seconds, the space within twists and settles into a usual swirling mass of mana. Right, we're good, Drea says, shaking his paw slightly, walking over to the table to pick up me and the strides through the portal. The scenery changes instantly from the forest to that of a bustling city, when one starkly different from those in the Empire, cleaner, busier, and more magical by many degrees. Contact with the system has been re-established. Updating status. Experience gain 48.92. Skills have increased proficiency. Magic Missile Expert Mid Uncommon Active 90.13. Fires a projectile of mana. Power scales with mana consumption. Unable to exceed 50 mana per shot. Maximum range equals intelligence times 1.75 divided by meters. If remotely controlled, there is an additional mana cost of 0.65 mana per second. Otherwise, direction of travel is set on initial creation of shot. Mana Control Expert High Uncommon Passive 87.92%. Your practice with magic has led to a great familiarity with handling mana. Maximum quantity of mana able to be controlled reliably 100 mana. Minimum quantity of mana able to be controlled reliably 0.2 mana. Multitasking Advanced Mid Uncommon Passive 32.48. You are skilled at doing multiple things at once. Small increases to your ability to keep track of multiple things at once. Small decreases in reduction of precision when performing multiple tasks at once. Gaming Tic-Tac-Toe Master Low Unique Passive 48.97. You are a master at tic-tac-toe. Congratulations! Slight instinctive ability to correctly guess the outcome of a 50-50 and a 1 in 3 gambles. Foreign Mana. Mana regeneration reduced by 100 minus wisdom %. Unaffected if wisdom is equal or greater to 100. Abundant Mana. Effects of all magic increased by 10%. Costs reduced by 10%. Mana regeneration doubled. Master in tic-tac-toe, huh? Didn't expect it would be that high this quickly. I suppose it's to be expected. Tic-tac-toe is an incredibly simple game once you make it even the slight analysis of it. As for when I played it, I did take some breaks while training. Talking wasn't always an option, and Minesweeper, well, the way I played it takes way too long, so I figured why not play tic-tac-toe? Much quicker. Now, tic-tac-toe isn't in the game's menu, but Minesweeper, a grid, so I just use 303 area with flags, with O's and question marks for X's and O's. It's good that all my training paid dividends, even if not all that was actually intended as such. And that abundant mana bonus puts my regeneration up to, slightly higher than my usual, even with the foreign mana debuff. Forktastic. It's good to be back, Drea sighs. It's an impressive place, I agree. My office, Drea asks quizzically. That's nothing much. No, the city. I say, the amount of crime I can see is much lower than the other cities I've visited. Practically non-existent. Cleaner and more advanced too, not to mention the sheer diversity. I'm just counting the ones I can see, and I've already tallied up over 50 different species. Glad to hear it's going as well as always, Drea smiles. As I said, Aberdac is the center of all magical learning, and this academy is the best there is. Even here, people from all over, even different worlds, and with the number of mages, wizards, sorcerers, and so on here, it's practically impossible to commit a crime without being noticed, even if it looks like nobody is watching. I look at my immediate vicinity, much like Drea's house on the other side of the portal. The room is scarcely furnished. Rather than an office, this room looks to be more for residential purposes, while another larger room off through the door looks to be an actual office. Unlocking the door with a wave of his paw, Drea walks through and looks at a pile of papers and letters on his desk in dismay. I suppose things do build up when you're out exploring the world for a few years. He sighs, sitting down and looking at one of the things on his desk. Good news. We are in an enrollment period right now, Drea says. Wasn't sure that we would be. It's hard to keep track of the date when some worlds have longer or shorter days. Chances were good, though. We take in new students 4 times a year. All right. What now? I asked, excited and not a little nervous. Now we go enroll you. Drea unlocks the main door and enters the corridor outside it, closing and relocking the door before he sets off. He walks for quite a while before arriving at a large auditorium packed with several lines of people. Drea! Hey, you're back! How you doing? One of the people, heading the lines, likely a teacher, calls out to Drea, much to the annoyance of the person that he was supposed to be enrolling. He appears almost human, if not for the short layer of hair all over his body, the protruding jawline, a flat nose, and a waving tail. If I were to hazard a guess, I would say that he's some type of monkey beastman. Drea hurries over. Well, considering my luck this time around, I ended up visiting both Ignis and Hal. How about you, Orson? Orson winces. No wonder your fur seems a bit darker. Happy to hear you're still kicking even after all that. I'm doing fine, but what brings you to round these parts? I could say the same to you, notes Drea. Shouldn't you be off trying to figure out how to turn your spit into diamonds? Figured that one out ages ago, thanks. Orson waves a hand exaggeratingly. Accidentally spilled hot coffee on the dean's robes. It's only for the day, but gods, this is boring. And you didn't answer my question. Helping a friend to enroll, Drea shrugs. Oh, want me to do it now? Orson looks around. Or are they not here yet? I'll wait in line, Drea says, to the relief of the person still waiting to enroll. Your loss, Orson shrugs, turning back to the person in front of him. Drea heads to the back of the queue, and the line starts slowly crawling along again. After perhaps an hour of waiting, we reach the front. Are they still not here? I can't hold everyone up for long, even if it's you, you know, Orson says, scratching his armpit. Drea presents me. Orson looks at me. Is this a joke? I don't get it. Trying mentally, I manipulate myself into a mini-man and wave at him. All right, not a joke. Orson eyes me curiously. If you don't mind me asking, what are you? A living fork, if you can believe it, Drea says. He can only talk with telepathy, unfortunately. Orson's eyebrows hike up his forehead. Now, Dre, I'm not saying you're lying, but I can't take you at face value for something like this. If an enrollment form goes to the higher-ups with a race like that written on it, without proof, I'll be a laughingstock. But you saw he was just a fork a second ago. Drea frowns. You know something like that could be faked. Olsen shakes his head. Look, the only way we'll be comfortable writing it down in the form is to show me its status. There's no faking that. My whole status, I ask him, reaching out telepathically. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with that. You weren't kidding about telepathy, Olsen nods. Not the whole thing, just your race. How do I do that? I ask. Showing him my race isn't a problem, after all. It's show Olsen race, Olsen says. Show Olsen race. No kidding. Olsen shakes his head in disbelief. All right, let's do this. Name? Gerald, I say. Age? He asks. Yeah, I'll have to use the show command for that. No way he'll believe that I'm 17 months old. I should be freaking baby by normal logic. Show Olsen age. 17? Okay. Wait, months? You sure you're old enough for this? Olsen asks, confused. I got reincarnated into this body. My actual age is closer to 24 years old. I say, not expecting him to believe a word of it. Whatever, it's your choice, either way. Olsen shakes his head. Gender? Show Olsen gender. Makes sense, I guess. Any prior experience of magic? Show Olsen mana control and magic missile. All right, that's a bit out of the ordinary. Anything else, he asks. No, those are my only magic-related skills, unless you count magic edge or mana sight, I reply. Could you show me that last one, he asks. Show Olsen mana sight. Sheesh, wish I had that skill. All right, that's about it. Any disabilities? Can you move on your own, he asks. I can move perfectly fine. Other than that, well, other than mana sight, I can't see. Other than telepathy, I can't speak, and can't hear, smell, taste, or feel. That is a problem, Olsen scratches his chin. Not one that can't be solved, though. Well, that's all, I think. Do you think that we can get a scholarship, Dre asks. He doesn't exactly have any money. A scholarship? Olsen barks with laughter. Even if his skills didn't qualify him, his age would be technicality. The amount of talent required to display or to receive a scholarship is proportional to age. Since he's not even 2 years, he exceeds the threshold to a considerable amount. There's no minimum age to enroll, I ask. Nope. We accept all races, and some mature earlier than others. Besides, what would be the point of enrolling a kid? They just get expelled when they don't pass their first term courses, Olsen explains. So, what now, I ask. Olsen shrugs. You wait until the enrollment period is over, then message will be delivered to your residence. Which is where, by the way? Just deliver it to my office. The world I travelled to last was quite nice, so we're living there, Drea says. Woodland? Olsen asks. Without end. Drea agrees. Olsen smiles. Man, you lucked out. It's all right if I come over sometime. Always. Drea smiles back, and they shake hands. We'll see you again when this is done. Don't remind me, Olsen groans, turning back to the barely diminished line behind us. I think that went well, I say to Dreyer as he walks away. It did, he replies. Should only be a few days before we hear some news. Am I going to be all right without a proper sight? I mean, you can only go so far teaching without writing things down. I worry. Dreyer shakes his head. You'll soon realize that many things that seem impossible before are easily fixed here. If you manage to get a scholarship, and it sounds like you will, there won't be any issues. How fortunate. It seems that it has, as always, come to another wait, but that's all right. I can wait. I have the patience of a fork, after all. End of chapter. And that, my friends, is the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please consider supporting the author from the links down below. And if you'd like to support this channel, there are numerous ways listed down below. The easiest of which would be to share this channel, subscribe, like and comment, and all the other stuff that Google wants us to push. But anyways, until the next video, I hope that you all have a good one, and I'll see you then. Cheers.